Good afternoon. Welcome to our second session of Rotech Live on the afternoon of Monday, the 14th of September, 2020. This morning we looked at the principles of the TIJ printing system, and this afternoon we're going to look at TIJ in action, see some of the things that TIJ can actually do. One of the first things we were going to look at was the flexibility of TIJ in terms of the print area. TIJ is a very versatile technology. If you look at this print example we've just made, all of those 5 lines in the data matrix barcode were made with a single print head. But if we want to go to a larger print area, we can make prints using 2 print heads. And in this instance, the text is printed with one and the barcode underneath is printed with another. As we were saying this morning, you can keep adding heads. One recent application was one that uses 4 heads. So we have 1 line per print head, printing 4 heads here. And this was an environment where a thermal transfer printer was disturbed by the amount of contamination in the air, and TIJ, being a non-contact method, worked much better. So TIJ is very flexible in terms of the number of print heads you can use, but also very flexible in the amount of information you can have printing in a single print head. We've got a few videos and stills we can show you to give you an idea of some of the other capabilities of TIJ. And what I'm going to try and do here is to share the system. And where I've got a share screen facility, I'm hoping to be able to go into some of my videos and stills that are on this system. So the first one we spoke about was speed. This is a video that was submitted by Marco Print in Germany, where they had a job with the German post office to print a barcode and some text onto envelopes. If there was any doubt about the speed that TIJ could run at, this surely addresses it. So you've got a very high speed mailing line where we're printing, as you can see, barcodes and text onto envelopes at very high speed. And this is using the same Integra 1 printer that we use very commonly for date coding of food sleeves, but it's the same printer just configured to run at very high speed. So there's one showing a high speed operation. Just go back to my selection of videos. We were talking earlier about how we can fit TIJ printers onto labeling systems. This was a still on about an installation from our earlier session. Here's the live video, and here you can see again the Integra 1 printer. Just go to a full screen, and then you can see the 2 lines of very fine text printed here and printed vertically at 90 degrees to the direction of travel. Again, one of the flexibilities of TIJ is that you can print at 90 degrees because the 1/2 inch high print area gives you that facility. So again, we're seeing the labeler printing a very nice code. We don't actually have an encoder on this because we're just making sure that the labeler is running at constant speed when we make the print, or more to the point, we position the printer and trigger it at the time when the label is moving at constant speed. We dial that speed into the printer and we get a perfect print. So there's a nice shot of a small amount of text being printed on a label. If we go to another example in the stills library, we can see again a printer fitted onto a labeler. And here, not so easy to go full screen on this, but it's a good size image. You can see the same printer on the labeler run, or the label run, going up to the beak at the left-hand end here. Now, this is doing quite a complex job, much like you saw on the one with the mailing system, where we're printing a data matrix barcode and some human readable text. And if I zoom in a little on this, you can see that text that's been printed with a single print head, data matrix barcode, and 3 lines of human readable text next to it. The GTIN, the 01, will be embedded in the data matrix barcode, as will the lot and expiry information that will have been dialed into the printer before the start of the run. So again, a very flexible system where everything is done on the printer, including the dialing in of the variable information via the OLED display and the little iWheel device there. So that gives you an idea of two applications of labeling. Here's another one. This is a line labeling milk bottles, 4-pint or 2-litre here milk bottles. And we're looking over the display on the Integra One. It's telling us that just over 3,000, nearly 4,000 prints have been made, but that the number of prints per cartridge is about 426,000. So you can see that when you're starting to work out cost per 1,000 prints, you're coming down to a figure probably less than 10 pence per 1,000 prints. If you're doing a fairly simple code, as we are here, all that's required on a bottle of milk, which is a use-by date. So 3 examples of labeling. Very fine text on a very small bottle, a vape label, large amount of text with a data matrix barcode, and then a more modest amount of text on a high-speed milk packing line. So there's 3 examples of TIJ in action. If we go back to the video library, we've got some other things we can show you. Now here, we're printing directly onto a pack. First one we've got is a company just up the road from us here in Welwyn Garden City, where we're printing onto the base of a 15 kilogram sack of pet food. And again, the Integra One allows you to dial in the variable information, and it will then print the combination of fixed, like the heading, and variable information on the side of the pack. Very good adhesion to the pack, and you can see our fairly standard sort of installation using aluminium extrusion to allow us to fit easily onto the side of a line. Very often we don't drill a hole. There's some screw heads here that we can pick up on for fixing to make installation very simple. Moving on to something moving a little bit faster and slightly at 90 degrees it looks like. But these are cartons of tea moving past the print head. And again, you can get the idea there of it printing onto the side of a box as it moves past. I won't dwell on that one as it's giving me a crick in my neck. We spoke about the ability of TIJ to print onto a wide variety of surfaces. So here are 2 others that just want to show you. First one is printing into the lid of a soup tub. Again, with TIJ, you can throw the ink sufficiently far that it will go down into the recess of a lid, such as on these pots of soup, or if you've got something like a margarine tub or a tub of butter where you want to throw the ink down into a recess. TIJ is now very capable of that. The other one to show you is a completely different product. Again, apologies for being through 90 degrees, but we're printing onto these trigger sprays. So again, we've just positioned the printer at the right angle using our extrusion to get to the trigger spray and just print the information on the top of that as it goes past. We spoke about TIJ being able to print in different colors, and here's a short promotional video showing thermal inkjet printing on an extruded product. Now first we're running with a black cartridge printing onto a gray extrusion, and then we'll just change the cartridge for a white one, and then we can print in white onto a black surface, as you can see here. We had an installation recently, a test installation with a customer where they've been used to having to make the change from a white to a black printer. It was a complete change of printer. And while our engineer was there, the customer said, well, if you're going to do the change to white, I'll give you, what, 30, 40 minutes. And the engineer said, no, that's all right. I've put the cartridge in. We're ready to go. It really is as quick as just taking the cartridge out and changing it over. And of course, 0 maintenance. Every time you change the cartridge, you've changed the whole ink delivery system. So there are just a few other shots showing other extrusions, aluminium, plastic, and so on. we go into our stills, just got a couple of other things to show you. One little story was about some years ago where we were required to put a 6-lane printer together, where we've got 3 TIJ printers, each able to span 2 lanes. The 12.5 mil, 12.7 mil print height allowed us to print the bottom of one sachet and the top of the next. And so we did that with 3 cartridges, and the resulting print looks something like that. However, when you look at what the previous incarnation of printing system had done, this was the back of the machine where there had been 3 TIJ printers doing the same job, but making a bit more mess. The room was also quite confined, and it had to have an extraction system in it because of the odor coming from the solvents in the TIJ. Obviously with TIJ there was no such odor, so we didn't have to worry about that. This is an example again on a wide web system with a single print head. And then this was quite a nice system we put together for a medical device company where they were previously sticking labels onto the underside of a box. And they wanted to have a more permanent mark, a more professional looking mark, and they also need to put a data matrix barcode onto this. So the solution was one of these benchtop semi-rigs, you'll see these later in the week, where the box is placed onto this black platen. It's slid left to right under the print head here, and the print is made directly onto the surface of the box. And you can just see in the control panel of the Inkjet where there's the data matrix barcode and the human readable text. And again, I can just about see that there's a lot in a box and a factory sign, and there'll be a GTIN number as well. So they've got GTIN, lot and expiry being printed on the underside of that box. So there we are. That's an example of some of the applications of TIJ in action. It shows you the versatility in terms of the range of materials that it can print onto. We've seen paper materials, cartons, films, labels, shiny labels, very versatile in terms of what the ink can now adhere to. And then you've also seen some of the speeds at which TIJ can run on high-speed mailing applications or on labeling applications. The same might apply to something like a flow wrapper. Really, the speed of TIJ is more than enough for any of the common packaging applications, and even takes you into these very high-speed type situations for things like mailing. So that gives you an overview of TIJ in action. That's the second of today's webinars. Tomorrow we're looking at pharmaceutical packaging, medical packaging, and some of the work we do for security applications. And then later in the week, we've got more about offline coding for food systems, for other type applications. And then we're looking at outer case coding and a few other systems when we get to Friday. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found this useful, and we hope to see you at one of the other webinars. Thank you very much.